In this dream, I was suddenly placed in a forest. The sun was just setting, and you could see the different colors in the sky. I looked down to the ground and I saw white snow, no tracks. So I looked around me, and I was standing in the middle of a clearing, surrounded by trees. As I'm looking around, I get the sense that I'm not alone, I'm being watched. So when I turn over to my left, out from the trees comes a black wolf. He slowly walks towards me, and I froze. I couldn't move. Couldn't move to the side, couldn't move backwards, couldn't move forward. I just was frozen there. And he was growling at me, and he was pretty upset. I could see the anger in his eyes. I could see his teeth. I could see his hot breath coming out of his mouth as he starts to circle around me. So I start to move my neck around and I could see him going one way, and then he turns back the other way, just slowly pacing around. I suddenly look up, and the sky now is dark. I can see the stars shining. I could feel the stillness of the night, and I could see the moon shining down on that spot. This wolf continued to pace back and forth, never taking his eyes off me. I was frozen with terror. I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything. Then at one point, the wolf parked himself right in front of me, no more than, say, 8 feet. I thought this was all over. But in this case, I was very aware of what was going on, but I couldn't run away from the situation. So the wolf got back up and started to growl, started slowly making his way towards me. At this point, I felt like, this is it. And he starts to pace again, and he's getting closer and closer. He paced back and forth. Now he's walking towards me ever so much closer. I could see the size of his teeth. He meant business, he wasn't playing games. Then he stopped, looked me straight in the eye, and then started to make his way towards me. He started to pick up his pace, and suddenly he leapt up in the air. As he's making his way towards me and he's about to pounce, I looked down to my right-hand side and noticed was a large branch that was slightly broken on the end. Somehow I picked up that branch, raised it up in the air. I thrust the branch right up through his midsection, wounding him. He shrieked. He fell onto the ground, literally at my side. He still had that look of hate in his eyes. But I know I had wounded him pretty bad. And when I pulled the branch out, a pool of blood appeared onto the snow. He got up. He was wounded. He started to make his way back into the dark forest. He stopped, turned around, took one last look at me, and then he quickly scurried into the trees and disappeared. I'm standing there. I'm looking down. I can move my hands now. There's the branch on the floor. It's stained with blood all over the top part of it. A trail of blood's leading away from me into the trees. As I'm standing there, my hands at my side, suddenly, something grips my hand. I look over and there's a white wolf sitting at my side. He's put his mouth around my hand very gently, as if to say, I'm not here to hurt you, just follow me. Suddenly I could move my legs, and I turned around, and the wolf had me by the hand, and started to lead me away from this dark forest. After a little while, I turned back, and I could see the forest off into the distance. It was very dark in there. I still remember what happened, and how close I was to getting really hurt. As we both walked through this journey, the sounds of the birds broke the silence. I could hear nature. There was a little bit of a breeze, and as we made our way closer and closer and closer to wherever it was taking me, I was starting to feel more at peace. I felt like some chains were melted around my heart and my mind. All of a sudden, I could hear the sound of water running like a small brook. And then I heard the sound of lambs. And I thought, my God, where am I? I looked up and the sky was really blue. The clouds were really sparkly white. The sun was really bright. I felt like I had no care in the world. I felt like I was at peace. There was no fear of anything. And as I walked through with this wolf, I could hear the noise of the brook getting a little bit louder. And then suddenly I look across the brook, and there's a man standing there, like a woodsman. He had an axe in his hand, and he was trimming and cutting small trees and branches and pruning them. And I looked at the wolf and I said, where are we? This is paradise. Everyone here is treated equally. The sun shines on everybody. There is an abundance of everything here. Tears came to my eyes. I was overwhelmed with emotion. I couldn't believe what I was feeling. I've never felt that before. And I asked the wolf, who's the man across the brook there? The wolf looked at me and kind of smiled. Then he walked away, walked towards the brook, jumped over, landed on the bank on the other side, slowly made his way up a little bit of a hill there, and sat down right beside the woodsman. When I looked up, I couldn't see his face. It shone like a million suns. I had to turn my eyes away. I just couldn't look into his face. It was so bright. I felt very peaceful. I felt very calm. So I walked over towards the edge of the bank there. As I got closer, the woodsman motioned to me to come over. So I did. I walked through the brook, into the water, crossed to the other side, made my way up that little hill. And then when I came up to him, I was literally feet away. He extended his hand out and said, "Welcome home, son." And my heart just melted. I looked around me, and like I said, the grass was the brightest green I've ever seen. The bluest skies, the whitest clouds. There were animals, domesticated and wild, everywhere. All sitting, resting, in the company of everybody. I turned the other way and I saw people. People of different colors, people of different backgrounds, people of different culture. Everyone was there. Had never felt or seen anything like this before. I had only read about it in books and in conversation with friends. So I asked the woodsman who he was. And the whole time I had to keep my head down. I couldn't look into his face. It was just too bright, too powerful. just said to me, he goes, I'm the one that prunes the trees. I'm the one who takes care of the garden here. I'm the one that maintains peace and order, that all trees and all living things share equally in the blue skies, the bright sun, the green grass, the clean water, and the peace of mind. And with that, he walked away with the white wolf. And I stood there, and I just looked around and saw something I'd never seen before. It's so hard to explain. Words can't describe what I saw. It was what I felt. Sometimes it gets a little hard saying the story because I picture myself in that situation and those feelings come back again. I wish everyone would see that. I wish everyone would feel what I felt that night. But I'll never forget that peaceful, calm feeling, looking around and seeing all of creation in harmony. The one thing I did not see there at all was death.